Okay, hello everybody. So today we're doing this video on frequently asked questions, what to expect when you get your fuel tab. So if you're brand new, please watch this video, or if you have somebody who has questions, or um, you have somebody that you just brought on that doesn't really know what to do, tag them in this video, and this video is going to answer all of their questions. So the first thing we want to talk about is our product isn't on trial. Our product works, it's proven. So not only has the technology behind our product won 6 Nobel Prizes in chemistry. You do not win 6 Nobel Prizes in chemistry for a product that doesn't work. Our manufacturers been manufacturing the product for over 20 years. They've never had an insurance claim. It works. And on top of that, we have third-party testing from the Petroleum Institute out of Mexico, proving that our product works on top of everything else. So our product works, it's not on trial. But we want to give you some tips on what to expect, or maybe you just stuck your first tab in and you didn't see a difference. And so we want to go over a few things. So there's generally 3 reasons why some people, you use it and you're not seeing results. And if you go back to these 3 reasons, you'll realize that one of them you're missing, and there's something that you're not doing correctly. And so the number 1 reason right out of the gate is when you first get your product, it's important to double dose. So the very first time you use it, you're going to double dose. So what that means is our product one tab treats 20 gallons of fuel. So if your vehicle takes 40 gallons, instead of putting in 2 that first time, you would put in 4 because you're double treating. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. And then Angel, do you want to quickly just speak to double dosing?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things you'll know and learn very quickly in this group and see as I post is my husband loves to buy and sell vehicles. So we are on a constant rotation in our household of different vehicles. And about 4 months ago, my husband bought this awful minivan. Like, it was not looked after. My husband was rehabbing it, refurbishing it, getting it back up to par. It did not run smooth. The mileage was awful. Like, we know what a Dodge Caravan, Grand Caravan's miles per gallon should be approximately. It was not even getting about half of what it should be. So we knew it was not well looked after. So I double dosed the first tank, didn't really see any improvement. I double dosed another tank. I actually double dosed 6 tanks in that vehicle just because it was so uncared for. You could tell that the maintenance wasn't there. They weren't doing regular motor maintenance. They definitely did not take care of the inside of the vehicle. And so I said, this is how this looks. I'm guessing this is awful. And so after running 6 courses through of a double dosing, then we started seeing the mileage go up and up and up and up. And so it definitely was very dirty and not well cared for, and definitely needed a little extra TLC.
So it's important to remember that there is a clean out phase. And so generally, too, a rule of thumb is the older your vehicle is, and maybe if the maintenance wasn't the greatest, that clean out phase is going to take a little bit longer. And so one of the reasons that people don't see the results that they want to is because 1, they didn't double dose. 2, they haven't given it long enough time to clean out the system.
Yeah, and if you look in the technical data sheet that is actually right on the back office before you ever even order, the technical data sheet's there for you to see. It is recommended by not only the manufacturer, but also the third-party lab testing. They recommended a phase of about 20 tanks for a full, complete clean out of an older vehicle. Of course, the newer your vehicle is, it's maybe not going to take quite as long, but you also aren't going to see the big jump in the miles per gallon as somebody who has, a 2010, because your vehicle's never depleted. it hasn't had the carbon buildup, the depletion. And so it definitely, you have to give it the time. And you want to be buying quality gas.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So number 2 is you're underdosing. So just like I said, that one tab treats 15 to 20 gallons. Well, a lot of times when somebody says it's not working, we ask what the size of their tank is, and generally they're underdosing. So you need to absolutely make sure you're using the correct amount. So you can't overdose, but you can definitely undertreat. So that is actually the number one reason when somebody reaches out and they're saying, I'm not seeing a difference, and we ask them, like, how big is their tank? How much are they putting in? They're underdosing. And so super important to make sure that you're putting in the correct amount. Number 3 reasons why people aren't seeing a difference is you're not manually calculating. So I always say there's 3 reasons why people don't see a difference. 1, they didn't dose and give it a long enough time. 2, they're underdosing. 3, they can't do math. And what I mean by that is they're not actually doing the math. And so, and we see this in 2 different ways. Like we'll see, well, I only got an extra, 2 to 3 miles per gallon. Well, when you figure out what that is over a tank, that's quite a big savings, but people don't actually do the math. The other thing is it's important to manually calculate. Our vehicles run off of averages. And so a lot of times you're not actually getting an accurate reading. You're getting an average of like 20 to 50 tanks beforehand. And so make sure you're manually calculating. There is a app. It's not an app, it's a website. It's called the Omni. And we'll put the link in the comments here. That's what I use. When I manually calculate on my vehicle, it actually still doesn't show what my vehicle says, what I'm getting for miles per gallon, and what my vehicle says. There's actually a big difference all the time. So make sure you're manually calculating. It is really important to understand that our vehicles run off of averages. So you're actually not getting an accurate reading. And so like a lot of times people do see the difference right away, but I can guarantee if you manually calculate, you'll even see a bigger difference.
And then another point on that topic, with miles per gallon, you want to see that number increase. With liters per 100, you want to see that number decrease. And we actually had a customer who was irate that her numbers were going down. She was like livid, upset with us, and argued with us for quite a while on the topic. And she was upset because she went from 17 liters per 100, so 17 liters for every 100 kilometers she drove, and it went down to 12 liters for every 100, but she was convinced it needed to go up. And we tried desperately to explain to her that miles per gallon goes up, liters per 100 comes down. And she just could not grasp that concept. And that is how that works. We don't know why. That's just how it's calculated.
And if she would have manually calculated and did it in miles per gallon, she would have saw that they went up.
Yeah, exactly. So just be mindful of that, because I know there's only a few countries that actually use miles per gallon. Almost the rest of the world uses liters per 100. So you want to see the liters per 100 coming down, not going up.
Yeah.
And so that's how that's calculated. So just make sure you're also looking at that. The great thing about the Omni calculator, which I love doing, is you can switch very quickly from liters to miles per gallon. So you can see both numbers. And I like to take pictures of both. So that way when I'm posting it, everyone grasps it, because the Americans don't grasp the liters per 100. And then some people, like Canadians, are pretty used to miles per gallon, but then they're like, oh, is that Canadians miles per gallon? Because our gallon's different than the US gallon. And so then it gets confusing. So I always like to post the both, so people can see both results.
So those are the top reasons why, if you're not seeing the results you want, go back and look at those 3 things and make sure you're doing those 3 things correctly. The next thing we want to talk about is season changes. So when a season changes, you will more than likely see a difference in the miles per gallon that you are getting on every tank. So this November, we had a few people message and they've been using the fuel tab since the summer, and they're like, my miles per gallon are going down. And so we were like, okay, well, it's now winter. We just had a bunch of snow, and these were Canadians that we got most of the messages from. It's really cold. And so we had to talk about, like, how long are you idling your vehicle before you get in it? Did you recently change to winter tires? Because we all did. And then four-wheel drive, like how often are you driving in four-wheel drive? That's going to make a difference. And then something else that's really important to understand is when you're in a colder climate, in the winter, your fuel is different. Like, they change the fuel, they add more detergents to it. There's more additives added in the winter time. So your fuel is different. Do you have anything you want to add to that one?
Yeah, and I just also want to like just kind of mention that it matters where you buy your gas from. And so if you're buying your gas from like one of the big like Shell, Esso, or you're buying it at your local 7-Eleven or TR, and this is Canadian, but you know, it's the same type of thing in the US. You're buying your gas at one of the big retailers versus a small retailer. I promise you something, the small retailer isn't using very good quality gas. Not that I want their businesses to decline, but it is a cheaper base of fuel. Like, you know, it's just not as good quality. One of the things we had very recently in a community just over from us, they have a Shell and they have a TR. Okay, the Shell has very premium fuel, the TR not. Somebody posted on social media that his vehicle is ruined because of how much ethanol was in that gas, and his tank was full of water. And so these things really matter. So be mindful. You can get bad gas, and that's going to affect things as well. There is literally zero chance, not one single chance, that the catalyst can make you deplete in miles per gallon. It's always vehicle-based, gas-based. The tab itself cannot make you lose miles per gallon or liters.
Exactly. The next thing we want to mention is different driving conditions are going to affect what you're getting on that tank. So, you know, all in-town driving versus highway driving, or just really bad roads. I know my husband and I, the other day, we had to drive to Calgary and the roads were sketchy. Like, not only did we have the craziest wind, and it was a headwind, but they were icy, and we were in four-wheel drive the whole way. Like, our miles per gallon on that tank were awful because it was just awful driving conditions. But if I didn't have the fuel tab in, I can guarantee they would have been even worse. So,
and you would have had less power.
Less power, exactly. So take that kind of stuff into consideration of what were your driving conditions on that tank of gas, because that's going to vary as well. Anything else on that one you want to add?
No, I think that's that you know, it does just really make a difference. Like last week here in Saskatchewan, we were looking at -40 to -55 every single day. And so our vehicles ran a lot, and we drive diesel. And so with diesel, when it's hard to start, it expels a lot of fuel. And so you're wasting tons of gas just starting your vehicle, but then you let it run and run and run and run because diesels don't like to be cold. And so like our vehicles ran so much of the time. You know, I'd be working at the flower shop, and throughout a day, I would just idle it probably 3, 4, 5 times, depending how cold it was that day, because we don't have a plug-in in the back at our flower shop. So I would just be going out every couple hours and starting it and letting it run for 20 minutes. Well, that 20-minute run time does not convert to miles per gallon. That's just run time. So just be really mindful of that, because like that is normal. And I know that you weren't paying attention before, because I wasn't. You weren't paying attention to before, but the same thing happens every single year with your own vehicle.
Mhm.
But because now you're hyper paying attention, you're noticing it. So just keep that in mind.
And at the end of the day, you guys, like we said at the beginning, our product works. Our product's not on trial. You do not win 6 Nobel Prizes for something that doesn't work. And so there is nothing in our tabs that are going to deplete your miles per gallon. So what I say to people where they come back and they're like, it's not working anymore, I tell them to go off, and they're, we go over all these things and they're like, yeah. Then I say, go off for 3 to 4 tanks and then see how much your miles per gallon deplete, and then go back on. And every time they go back on.
Exactly. And there's so many different reasons why your miles per gallon can deplete. Your tire pressure. We just, in the vehicle we're driving right now, we had a bad O2 sensor. And so my husband switched it out instantly. Increase in miles per gallon because the O2 sensor, which is like filtering carbon and whatever, I'm not a mechanic, but doing its job, it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. So it was like making our vehicle run worse. And so it could be something like that. You could have a clogged fuel injector. You could have a batch of bad gas, or wherever you're getting gas from has changed their formula. So just be very mindful that there's so many different things that it could be, but guaranteed there is no humanly possible way for chemistry to be wrong and for it to deplete the miles per gallon. It doesn't work that way. We have been given the honor by the Mexican Petroleum Institute that they've endorsed our product to the Mexican government and approved it because it has had such amazing third-party results. And so you got to remember that these things are very well studied, very well reviewed. They're not new to the market. They're new to the individual market, but it's not brand new technology. It has been around for a very long time, and people have been using it for years in different applications.
Absolutely. So with that, we'll leave it. If you have any questions, please get back to the person who added you into this group. And if you have questions on this, they can set up a chat with us and we'll answer your questions. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.